and we were learning about reproduction of dragons so that we could eventually fight an elder dragon.
Well, Brandon, I hate to be the one that has to teach you this, but when a mommy dragon and daddy dragon love each other very much. So, in conclusion, Lee Harvey Oswald was just Marilyn Monroe in a disguise the entire time.
That makes so much sense when you just don't think about it.
Exactly. Oh, hey, hello, everyone. My name is Ben Lasser, and this is On the Roll, where I talk to fellow D&D players about their favorite D&D memories. Today, I'm joined by the brother of our very own Zach Vejo. He is a man whose actual name sounds more like a D&D character than his actual D&D character's name. Brandon Morningstar, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. So let's talk about Don Constable, right? Was the name of the wizard?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he's who this all happened to. Can you tell us a little bit about Don Constable?
So he was a human sorcerer, wild magic. His whole MO was that he was missing his house and it vanished. So if you can't figure out by now, he was based loosely off John Constantine. He was an asshole. Can I say that on this podcast?
Dude, mind your fucking language.
Okay, beautiful.
Watch your profanity.
And, just like Constantine was a smoker as well, and an alcoholic. And so that's kind of where the funniness comes in, is that I, to get in character, was drunk every session that I played this character. And so it led to a lot of fun times.
Was
not
the
for
whole
my DM, but
was the whole table drunk, or just you specifically?
So like we always did casual beers were encouraged, but really it was like when I was creating this character, I didn't quite know what to do. This was like my second character I ever created, and my first one was a rogue whose family had been killed. So, I was really just thinking out of the box.
Really original.
Yeah,
was he
exactly.
edgy and also contemplated
how
dark it is?
Absolutely. I would always tell people, I'm like, just imagine Geralt of Rivia as a character.
Folks say we witchers have no feelings. It's a barefaced lie. Right now, I feel rage, and I can't wait to vent.
And everybody just groaned and was like, okay, well, it's like your first time playing, so we'll let you have it. And so it was pretty cool, but I realized I loved role play way more. That was my wheelhouse after that. So I was like, I don't think I'll ever create a serious character again. And that's how Don Constable came about. It was just a blast. Through and through.
Tell me, what's the Don Constable cocktail? Like, what specifically is your weapon of choice to get in character?
Oh man, it would just depend. So I was back in college at the time and drinking whatever I had money for. So I think it was natural ice.
Ooh, the play.
Yeah, it was terrible. Never going back.
And alcoholic's piss.
Yeah, that's the best I've ever heard that described. Yeah. More about Don is that he didn't like using his magic, much like Constantine, because he was a wild magic sorcerer. If you roll a natural 1 after casting a spell, you then roll from the book, which happened a few times. I lost all of my hair once. And so that was a huge check to Don's ego. It was brutal. He was going in and out of every potion shop he could find in order to get his hair back. My DM took his revenge on me at this time and was like, yeah, like you really got to search for this. And made sure like every session, he's like, yeah, only a day's passed, so you're still completely hairless. Another one, he shies away from using his magic and instead just used magical items. And my DM was actually fairly helpful in just giving a plethora of items. But if I didn't get them, then I would find a way to steal them from the party because he was kind of a dick.
At the time of the incident we're about to go into today, Can you give me a rundown on the Constable arsenal?
From memory here, I think I mainly went with like cantrips, and then he had an amulet of health and would also use witch's bolt every now and then, which is like, so just fighting with a twig. So you could use
which bolt are you talking about?
what?
Which bolt are you talking about?
Yeah, which
But who's on first?
yeah. Wasn't the most handy in combat. It was more of like a supporting role. He wasn't keen on fighting at all. He would in a pinch, but it was more if I was ever in a fight, I would like escape or go to my party. They were big, beefy tanks. We had a barbarian, a paladin. It's good for me because I could just sit behind and make fun of everybody.
So in conclusion, Don Constable was more of a thinker than a fighter, kind of a sarcastic guy who couldn't punch his red paper bag, but ultimately in the role playing and solving and mysteries, that's where his strengths were. So let's talk about when you want to fight a dragon one-on-one.
Okay. Before we get into that, he did have an immovable rod, which he loved. It won him a lot of money in some bar arguments. Who can pick up this barrel or whatnot? And so, getting into that question you just asked, why would I want to fight a dragon one-on-one? So much like John Constantine, Don Constable actually really cares a lot about his friends and people, and so he would, in a moment, just sacrifice himself almost. One session, we had to go to this island that our DM had constructed, and it was a breeding ground for red dragons. It was mainly just supposed to be reconnaissance, and we were learning about reproduction of dragons so that we could eventually fight an elder dragon.
Well, Brandon, I hate to be the one that has to teach you this, but when a mommy dragon and daddy dragon love each other very much.
What a day, eh, Millhouse? The sun is out, birds are singing, bees are trying to have sex with them, as is my understanding.
The sex education of dragons in that realm is pretty lacking. We had to do a little hands-on. It was like it was like Blue Planet. We were out there, just camera crew set up.
Was it as simple as that, or was there like a ritual that I'm missing?
I think it was as simple as that. It was kind of weird though, and it went south because John wouldn't stop making fun of another character of ours who was a sorcerer, but he was part dragon. Oh. And so he was part red dragon, and so it was just making fun of him about wanting to, like, he was like a voyeur. And like he just wouldn't leave this other character alone, and just a plethora of jokes at him wanting to watch dragons fuck because he's part dragon. I was particularly drunk for this session because it was something called Main Day, which is like a huge school festival, and classes they don't go on that day. And so a bunch of us kind of just got a little tipsy. Eventually, after making so many jokes, the DM got a little fed up with it, and I kind of blew our cover, and the baby dragons were like around us, but they weren't harmful. And then like the mother came about. So we all kind of book it, and one of our characters had a magical like carpet nimbus, and it could only hold.
Dragon Ball reference?
Yeah. It was like I forget, he named it, but it was like Dragon Ball or like Aladdin, something like that. So they were gonna fly away. However, it can only hold so much weight, and we were a little overweight. So John tricked them into thinking he was on it with some illusion trickery, and basically was going to stay behind and like buy him as much time as possible. The only thing I could think of was hasting myself and running back at this dragon.
Wait, you ran toward it? You charged it?
Oh yeah, so we like all ran to the coast. They started flying away, and I used some illusion magic to project my voice onto it, so that like, because in the confusion my voice would be there and they think that I was on it, so they're flying away. And then eventually I just say like, I was like, fly you fools. And then they realized, and so they realized, like, I texted my DM, I was like, I don't want to say this out loud, but I want them to think that I'm on this with them until they're too far away for it to, because like, like John or Don is a huge self-sacrificer,
Okay. So is this like a noble Gandalf? I will give my life for my friends. I'm okay with that kind of choice, or is this more of a selfish? Oh, look at me! I'm so powerful. I can get out of this kind of thing.
It was like I, as the human player, was not there to make that conscious choice, but I think Don knew that this was the end for him.
Okay, so like you were okay, like in that decision. Do you think like, oh, I'm going to have to roll up another character next week, or were you just not even?
I don't know, like because in the comics, and so he is based off Constantine. He always just finds a way out of it. But I was like, this is pretty serious. I don't think so, but I knew that there's no way we could take on an adult red dragon. I was like, if I roll up another character, I roll up another character, or if I walk away from this campaign and just kind of hang out with everybody when they play, then so be it. Because this is the way Don would have wanted to go out.
Exactly.
So there's also in the campaign the first time that the party saw how selfless he actually was. So it was like a really big turning point. One of the other people in our group put on it's like who can say where the roads go, like while I was fighting this. So
who can say where the road goes, where the day flows, only time.
So like everybody was like, it was like a turning moment when they realized like, oh man, he's not just a huge dick. Like he actually does have a soft spot.
So did the players realize what you're doing, or did they think you were on the carpet with them?
The human players also thought that I was on the carpet with them, because I texted the DM because I didn't want it to be out loud. I didn't want them to metagame in any way.
Yeah.
Because like to us, the death of a character was like a huge thing that we kind of like, we would have like almost like a little moment of silence as human players when somebody's character died, because we really got attached. In the fight, in the moment, I didn't know how I was going to do any damage to this thing, because like he's not a fighter at all. What I had done was decided that I was going to run super fast, haste myself, charge in and jump into its mouth, because there's a lot of squishy parts in there, and I was like, I can do something.
So, Brandon, by chance, have you like tried out fencing and tried the lunge into the other guy's sword strategy, or?
Yeah, exactly. It was like, have you ever seen Men Who Stare at Goats?
Yeah, I love that movie.
When he like does the flying knife jump thing, like
he doesn't even have a knife.
Yeah, exactly. It was exactly like that, except instead of knives, I had an immovable rod.
Oh!
So this dragon was flying at me full speed. I'm now hasted, running at it full speed. And so I jump. And in the moment, I get this grand idea to pull out my trusty immovable rod, which I have never used other than like conning people. And so as soon as the DM says the dragon clenches down on me, and I go down to like 2 HP, like it was not good. I click it, and so it's going full speed, and the rod won't move. So it just tore its insides. It was phenomenal. My DM hated it. He hated how much he loved it, because I had now just destroyed this red dragon, and
it was dead.
Yeah, it was not moving anywhere. Like, so the party, once they realized that I wasn't on the carpet, swung back around. I guess it wasn't the best plan, but it kind of worked out. My DM was very upset and he was like, I'm not giving you XP for this. Like,
you got XP in our hearts, though.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, you know what? Mission accomplished. So my party came up to me and they had to pry me out of these jaws of this dragon. And my DM was like, you're unconscious. Like, just accept that fact. And so I was, at this point, he gave me the fact that I had like single-handedly destroyed this dragon. And so I was like, I'll be at your mercy. Like, I'll do whatever you want, man. My party decided to loot me for everything I had, except for the immovable rod, because I was the only one who knew how to turn it off. And so they healed me back up. And that was how Don Constable did the selfless act of being a bastard till the end.
Damn.
Yeah.
So you lived.
Sure did. We went on as a party to actually fight the Elder Dragon, which was much, much further down the road.
Did you do the same trick?
No, so it came about, we had to recruit a bunch of armies in order to help fight with us. And Don was very upset because he kept telling them that he could take it on. He could single-handedly kill this dragon. We told him if we made a bunch of immovable rods, we could take on the dragon. And by this point, we were seeing how much we could get away with before the DM actually hung himself. we were not taking much seriously at this point. I think I had persuaded everybody to get rid of their serious characters and come over to my side.
How did the 100 immovable rod strategy work later down the road? I'm curious about that.
So they didn't let us do it. They called us absolutely insane, and it actually set us back because they no longer they didn't take us seriously in the slightest.
Haters gonna hate, and ain'ters gonna ain't.
That is not an actual thing people say.
Our DM was very generous at the end, and our Paladin's God boosted us like 2 levels each. Our Gunslinger got a cursed crossbow, and so basically had to sign a pact where a demon lived inside of him. And so we all got pretty boosted. John Constantine, with the level boost at the time, got polymorph.
Ooh.
And I forget what I had polymorphed into, but I tanked so much damage through the whole thing. For Dawn, the fight with the Elder Dragon was way less cool than the Red Dragon. I'm sure people watching this are going to be very upset, and I can't wait for the DMs you get about how that's not true. And then you can tell them, well, this happened 6 years ago, so go back in time and explain to his DM why.
Well, listen, I don't know if it's exactly in the rules of D&D, but the way I see it, people who play D&D only according to the rule book from Wizard of the Coasts are the same pussies who worry about jaywalking, you know?
Exactly.
We talked about this a little bit, but I want to zoom a bit more. How did relationship with Don and the rest of his party change as a result of this like crazy event?
On the surface, nothing really changed, but they kind of let him have some of his jokes more. He wasn't so much of an outcast. So my character came in kind of late, like 2 sessions late, just due to how school was going. So he was already an outsider to them. And like they let him know that for a while. They didn't trust him. They thought he was like a spy from the kingdom and stuff like that. And it didn't help that he actually like pulled a prank immediately, and he switched out the Paladin's shield, which had its holy symbol on it, because our Paladin was a huge tool. He took the nobility feat or background. His name was Chad, and we all called him Chad. He was like imagine, Prince Charming from Shrek.
Yeah.
Like imagine that. And so Don immediately was like, "Can't be having this. You need to be checked." And so he stole his shield in the middle of the night and replaced it with an exact copy, because we were in a dwarven settlement. So I brought it to like the master dwarf smith, and I was like, "How much gold do you need to like recreate this?" And he was like, "Well, it won't have the magical properties." I was like, "Beautiful." So Chad didn't know his shield was missing until in battle, and he had none of his paladin boost at all, because he didn't have his holy symbol. And so eventually it found out, like it was one of the major fights of the party, and it was 100% my fault. He pinned me to the ground after we were like in these catacombs, and was like beating me up to like get it back, and I queued up a fireball actually. And I was like, I will shoot this off. And I know we are all like barely double digits HP at the moment after this fight. I was like, you let me up or I'll shoot this off. And like he tried to do some checks to see if I was bluffing. And I like told the DM, I was like, I'm not bluffing. I'll go to the grave. Like, so for a while he was just this huge outcast, this kind of guy that like did not care. And he just wanted to find his house because it actually had like all of the keepsakes and memories of his family, which was still alive, just missing. And so like that was going to be his huge saga, was to find the house, find his like different family members and stuff.
A D&D character whose family is alive, I'm gonna have to call the D&D police on you.
You're like myth busted. Yeah, and so after that little exchange, he kind of was like accepted more. They found that he cared about the group more than the group kind of cared about him. And even though he already knew that to be true, he still would have sacrificed himself. So
It seems like a lot of your roleplay philosophy isn't just I'ma hit him really hard and get the biggest numbers. Do you have any other advice for players who might be a little bored with maybe just being a fighter, trying to roll the highest number and wanting to see if they can approach problems different ways?
Absolutely. Play a sorcerer and take prestidigitation and challenge yourself to only use prestidigitation in fights, and especially at the low levels because it's very forgiving in combat. Don used it on Chad so many times because you can clean or sully areas. And so he like, in order to wash himself, he had to get out of his steel plate armor, which takes a long time. And so he would get clean and then like put his armor back on. The whole process took forever. And then Don would just make him dirty. Yeah. So, another balance, like if you're bored and you want like try to play like a trickster character, play some pranks, but don't do it to the point where you are upsetting the other human players. And that's something that I didn't really do the best with Don, and it's an acquired skill now. So
Brandon, before we finish up here today, is there anything you want to say about this campaign, Nat Camp, Don Constable, other D&D? Is there anything else in the world?
To new players and old players, just mix it up. It's always good to go out of your comfort zone. And role play is the best way to do that. Even if you play a battle-oriented character, role play it up, do it to your heart's content. Because if you're in a good group of people that accept how you play, it's just the best. You just won't want the session to end. So get into it, live it, love it. It's fun.
And wonderful. Is there anything you want to shout out before we finish up here?
Shout out to Tyson and Zach. I'm glad you guys really dug into D&D and are enjoying it. This is phenomenal to watch. This episode's sponsored by Morningstar Burgers.
This episode's sponsored by not Natural Ice, because I ruined that sponsorship for us.
Actually, that's also my last bit of advice. Don't drink natural ice.
Well, I think that's a good place to end it. Play D&D, but don't drink natural ice.
Exactly.